Ba-doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doo. Totem poles, as Seattle as the Space Needle. You can see them far and wide all over King County. The indigenous people of the Pacific Northwest have carved them for thousands of years. Hang on. No, wait a second. Totem poles are from Alaska. How did they end up here?
Hi, my name's Carter, and I'm your tour guide for this video. You can remember my name because President Jimmy Carter is still alive. We'll check back before the end of the video, though.
In 1896, there were many towns and cities in the Pacific Northwest vying for dominance. The discovery of gold in Alaska changed that forever, thanks mostly to Seattle's most precious nerd, Erastus Brainerd. Erastus realized that tens of thousands of people would quest to Alaska, seeking their fortunes, so he published pamphlets and distributed them around the world. These pamphlets marked Seattle as the gateway to Alaska. As we all know today, Alaska is hundreds of miles to the south. To the north. But his misrepresentation worked. Prospectors came to Seattle and bought all the tools and supplies they needed to go die in the woods. This put Seattle on the world stage where it remained. Yeah, but what about the totem poles? I'm getting there. In 1899, there was an expedition sponsored by the Seattle Post-Intelligencer newspaper to make trade deals. Members of the Seattle Chamber of Commerce went on this expedition, and this is confusing, but the steamer ship they left on was called the City of Seattle. So they leave around mid-August, and on their way back, on the shore, they spotted some beautiful totem poles. And they're thinking, you know what would be really great? If we brought one back to Seattle as a symbol for how great our trip went. So they parked the boat, run up to this empty village where all the totem poles are, and this is a direct quote from someone who was there.
All the Indians were away fishing, except for one who stayed in his home and looked scared to death. We picked out the best-looking totem pole. I took a couple sailors ashore, and we chopped it down, just like you chop down a tree. It was too big to roll down the beach, so we sawed it in two.
And they break off pieces of the totem pole as they're rolling it down to the ship. The Seattle Chamber of Commerce brought it back and put it up in Pioneer Square. You know what that means. This totem pole's not supposed to be here! When they erected it, they even had a little ceremony with speeches where one of the speakers compared their taking of the totem pole to how the Romans went into Egypt and took the obelisks back to Rome. They were really proud of themselves.
This totem pole represents the history and genealogy of a lost and vanished race.
Well, pretty soon, this lost and vanished race showed up looking for justice. This led to a hilarious newspaper war between the Seattle PI and the Seattle Daily Times. Only the Times covered the Tlingit tribe's lawsuit for $20,000. Long story short, they walked away with only $500, which was paid by the Seattle PI. Not really what you would call justice. 8 men were indicted for theft by a federal grand jury, but the judge dismissed the suit after being schmoozed hard in Seattle's prestigious Rainier Club. None of the controversy surrounding Seattle's first totem pole was enough to slow the appropriation. Within a decade, they were all over the city. By 1906, the local Salish Indians had begun carving totem poles to sell to tourists. Here's a picture of the Alaskan Curio Shop, a souvenir gift shop on Seattle's waterfront. This picture is from 1910, and here is the shop today, now known as Ye Olde Curiosity Shop. And if you type Seattle Totem into eBay search, this is some of the goofy stuff that comes up. And if you type in Matchbook Totem, you get the Totem Pole Cafe in Seattle, and you also get the Alaska-Seattle steamship. And would you look at that, the matches are totem poles.
So, like it or not, Seattle and totem poles are entwined from here on out.
Thanks for watching my video. If you would like a strange historical walking tour about niche history from me in real life, please go to my website, toursbycarter.com. And you can remember my name because President Jimmy Carter died while I was making this video. Just kidding. He's never gonna die. Ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo.